So now we shall have a look at what are called as the form tag, and the forms are one of the way in which you can actually share information or you can send information. Okay, so it is basically used for interaction. So an HTML form is an area of the document that allows user to enter information into certain fields. Okay, so when the user enters this information, then this information can be carried forward to further processing. So a form may be used to collect personal information, opinions and polls, user preferences, and other kinds of information. So when it comes to a form, there are two basic components of a web form: the shell, which is the part that the user actually fills out, and the script, which processes the information. So once the information has been filled out, then you are supposed to process that information. Okay, so these two are going to be the main components. So how do you process that information, or how do you send that information? That is also a main component in the form. So HTML tags are used to create the form shell. Using HTML, you can create text boxes, radio buttons, checkboxes, drop-down menus, and many more. And all of these things can be included in a form. And from each one of these components, you can actually take information for further processing. Okay, let us discuss about it with an example. For example, let me assume that I want to create this particular form now. Okay, so this is a sample form where I want to collect information from the user. So we shall see how exactly we can create this particular form. Okay, so as you can observe here, the form actually contains one text box. So this is a text box. Okay, it is named as first name, or it has a label called as first name. Okay, second is last name with a text box. Label name is last name, and there is a text box appearing beside it. Then we have got the drop down menu. Okay, so drop down menu will give you plenty of options. Drop down, it gives you plenty of options, and it will actually help you to select one of the option. Okay, it's a menu, so obviously it will help you to select one of the option. And there is one more uh, sample here, which is regarding the size. So size is either large or medium or small. So we have got radio. So these components are called as radio buttons. Okay, and then there is checkbox, which is indicating a color here, which is red, navy, or black. And if any additional information is supposed to be given, then a text area has been given here, which will indicate whether the user has some comments. Okay, so this basically is a form. So this basically is a form, and this form will be used to gather the information from the user. So once the user gathers this information, then as you can observe, he is going to submit this information for further processing. And in order to do that, we have this button called as buy now, and we also have got one more button which is called as reset, which will reset the information. Okay, for example, if I have filled up any information here and I want to change all of them, then what I can do is I can simply reset the information by using this particular button. So this is a form, and an HTML page can actually contain several forms like this. Okay, so it can contain several forms like this. So let us have a look at how we can generate this particular form one by one. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, the form shell has three important parts. One is the form tag, and another one is the which is actually specified, and another one is where you specify the information of how exactly this form has to be processed. Okay, so the form tag, which includes the address of the script which will process the form, and there are the form elements like the text boxes and the radio buttons, and there is a submit button which triggers the script to send the entered information to the server. So from the user or from the client, you collect the information through this form, and you are going to send the information to the server through this form. Okay, so how do we create the shell? Shell means the external covering. Okay, so we create the external covering by using the form tag. Okay, and we need to specify which action needs to be used. Okay, so there are two methods. Okay, sorry, which method has to be used. So there are two methods. So one method is called as the post method, the other method is called as the get method. Okay, so one is called as the post method, another one is called as the get method. So two methods are there. Out of these two, you can use any one. Okay, out of these two you can use any one. So either you can go with post or you can go with get. So it's better to go with post most of the times. Okay, next one is action. So action attribute will specify to where the data needs to be submitted, to where the data needs to be submitted, right? So for example, here I'm saying that you are supposed to submit this data to a script. Okay, and I'm going to give the URL of this particular script which will process that information. Okay, and once you have done that, so this enclosure or this shell is closed with a slash form tag. Okay, it is closed with a slash form tag. Okay, now let me demonstrate that for you. Okay, I'm once again using my second form. Okay, second page, we'll use the second page. So now I'm creating a form. Okay, so I'll rename it as user form. Okay, so how do we start? So we start with form tag. Okay, and we will end with a slash form tag, but we have to give what is the method that will be used by our form to submit the data. So here I'm using the post method, and where it has to be submitted. Okay, it is something like telling how you are supposed to deliver the data and to where you are supposed to deliver the data. Okay, so I'm going to submit this data to a page. Okay, let me create a page here. I will use PHP for processing. So I will create a test.php page. Okay, let me, yeah, I will give a test.php. Okay, now because I'm using PHP now, I might require the help of my PHP processor that is present in the WAMP server. Okay, so what I will do is I will copy paste these HTML pages into my www folder so that I can process this information. Okay, so let it be like this. So this is how we create a form. Okay, this is how we create a form. Now inside this shell, we can put any HTML elements. So all of them are going to be considered as a part of this shell, okay, or part of this particular form. Okay, so let us start by adding the components of the form. So we are supposed to generate a form like this, correct? So with some label and text box, some label and text box. Okay, so for label, I can simply type in, or I can use the label tag also, but I will just specify the label as it is. Okay, I'm trying to generate the content as it is here. Okay, so I will not use anything extra. So let us use this. Okay, so how do you add a text box beside that label? Okay, so to add a text box, we are going to make use of what is called as input. Okay, we are going to make use of an input tag, and there are several attributes for this input tag. For example, there is name attribute, there is value attribute, there is size attribute, and there is max length attribute. So all of these are optional, but however, giving name becomes essential because we are supposed to use this name to access the value that is present inside our text box. Okay, so how do we add an input? So it's input, okay, type. Then I have to say that I want a text box, so I'll give type is equal to text, and I am supposed to give some name. Okay, so I will change the double quotes. I'll change the name. So only these two things are essential. If you want to put some value, you can put some value by default. Okay, so like for example, I will demonstrate here. So let me give size as some 5 and max length has 15, means it can accept up to 15 characters. Okay, so this is one thing. So let us see how it will appear in our page. Okay, as you can observe here, first name is being displayed and there is a value here. Okay, so it accepts up to 15 characters only, right? So after that, it is not taking any value. So maximum length of this particular text field, I have set it as 15. Okay, but normally this is not required, because if we do that, then as I said, maybe sometimes you may want to enter more details, which will be truncated. So don't use those values. So we'll just simply use input type equal to text, and the name to be given to this particular text box is first name, right? So I'll just use first name without any space here, and value I will give type your name. Okay, and this is also again optional. You can simply leave it as blank also. So now you can observe it says type your name. Okay, but in our form that we wanted to create, it has got nothing, right? So what we can do is we can simply just remove this attribute and simply keep it as it is. So now we will have a blank text box created for first name. So what is the second thing? Second thing is last name. I think we can use the same thing, but this time it is last name. Okay, so I'll give the name of the text box also as last name, right? Let us see now our page. Right, now it has displayed it beside our first text box. So what if I want it to be displayed in the next line? What I have to use? Okay, you know the answer for this. I'm supposed to use the BR tag. Okay, so now it is being displayed one below the other. I want more break, so I'll add one more BR tag. So saved. Okay, so two text boxes I have created. So like this we can create any number of text boxes. Okay, now let us move on to the next one, which is the drop down menu. Okay, so before creating a drop down menu, let us concentrate on that text area, larger text area, which was residing in the form at the end, where we had used this to take users comments. So how do we add a text area for that? So in order to add the text area, larger text area, we are supposed to make use of a tag called as text area. Okay, we are supposed to add a tag called as text area. So I'll add that in our form. So I'm adding everything inside the form. Okay, so it says text area. So name is name. I can give some name. I will just, because it is used for comments, I'll use it as comments. Okay, so rows, how many rows and how many columns? Okay, so how many rows you want and how many columns you want? So I want around 10 rows, and I want around maybe 5 columns, or maybe okay, 15 columns. Okay, and this wrap will actually wrap the text around this area of 10 rows and 15 columns. Okay, and here I can actually give some text which will be displayed here. Okay, so I'll just write add your comments here. Okay, so let us see now what will happen. So if I just reload this, as you can observe, we have got a text area that is having the content that I showed you earlier. Okay, once again, it is being displayed beside our previous text box. So what I can do is I can add BR tag in order to put it at the bottom. Okay, of course, a label is missing for this. So I will add comments. Okay, so now we have put a label around that. So yes, see, now you can see that we have got a comments. Okay, now let us move on to the other things. Okay, now let us try to create a radio button which was appearing in our form. So how do you create a radio button? So just like how text boxes were created using input, radio buttons are also a form of input. So they are also going to be created using the input tag. Okay, so to create a input tag, sorry, create a radio tag, we're going to make use of the input tag, but this time the input type will be, instead of text it will be radio, and you can give the name of the radio button. Okay, one thing to remember here is uh, all of them are supposed to have the same name. Now, irrespective of how many cases you have, for example, in our case, if you looked at the um form, okay, we have got only one label here, and for this one label we have got three options. Okay, out of these three options, the user is only supposed to select one. Okay, so either he is supposed to select large, or he is supposed to select medium, or he is supposed to select small. Okay, so that's why irrespective of what the user selects, the name will be same for the radio button. Okay, the name will be same, but the value is going to be different. The value that you are going to fetch is going to be different, or the value that the user is going to select is going to be different. Okay, so that's why in the radio tag we have got the type as radio, but the name is same for all the three radio buttons. Okay, but the value is different. For example, for one of them value is large, for the second one it is medium, and for the third one it is small. Okay, so value is different. So depending upon what value the user is going to select, so this radio button is going to give us that particular value only. Okay, so you will not be able to select all the three, you will be able to select only one out of three. Okay, so let me add this to our form now. So let me give this as size. Okay, let me give this as size. So what is the size? Size is an input button. Okay, so size is an input button. So we'll do that. So let us now check in our form. So as you can observe, size is now large, medium, or small. Okay, let me just correct this because already size is present. So size has been put in bold. Of course, we want a break to be displayed after our content. So now we can see that size is either large or small or medium, right? So you are supposed to select one of them. See, at a time you can select only one of them. You will not be able to select multiple items. Okay, so this is how I create a radio button. So input type equal to radio, some name you have to give, and the name should be same for all the values, but the value can actually change. Okay, the value can be different. Like for example, now I will add one more radio button. Okay, so I'll add one more radio button, but this time I don't know what is the size. Size is unknown. Okay, size is unknown. So what if the user select this, right? So as you can observe, sorry, I'm supposed to, sorry, here I need to give size as unknown. The label that we are supposed to display, right? So this is the label. So this is the value for that label. Okay. See, now it is unknown. So if I select this, I'm selecting unknown. If I'm selecting this, I'm selecting small. If I'm selecting this, I'm selecting medium. If I'm selecting this, I'm selecting large. Got it? So this is how you can use a radio button inside your form. So whenever you have got options, okay, or when the user wants an option or option type data to select, then you can always go with the radio button. Okay. So what is the next component? The next component is a checkbox. Okay, so if you don't want options, if you want to select multiple options at the same time, so this radio button will actually help you to select only one option at a time out of several alternatives. But if you want to select more than one options, then instead of a text box, you can actually go with the radio button. Sorry, you can actually go with the checkbox. Okay, so same thing, tag is same input, but the type is going to be checkbox. And just like the radio tag, our checkbox will also have a name, and it will also have a value associated with it, and you can also put a label beside that checkbox. Okay, so I'll just copy the same thing, and I'm going to add our checkbox here. So I'll add BR tag. Let me reload. Okay, now we can observe that I have got a checkbox, right? So what are the options? So first color is red. First color is red. Second color is navy. Second color is navy. And the third color is black, right? So we have those three colors, three checkboxes created. So if I want to create another checkbox under the same name, just copy this, paste this, and see the names are same, the value will be different. Okay, so value this time I'm going to give yellow. Okay, so but here label also needs to be changed as I had observed in the previous case, yellow. Now I'll save the file and run the file. Okay, now you can see that I got yellow option. So the difference between the radio button and the checkbox is that in a radio button, at a time you will be able to select only one option. Okay, like for example, out of the four, I will be able to select only one option from radio button. But when it comes to a checkbox, I can select multiple options. For example, as you can see here, I have selected red and navy. So if I don't want red and navy, I can select red and yellow. Or if I want, I can select all the four. Okay, I can also select all the four, right? So this is how we can actually use a checkbox and a radio button in order to accept input from the user. Okay, so let us, I think we have done with all the components. Okay, I think combo box is one thing that is missing. So let us look into how we can create a combo box or a drop down menu. So to create a drop down menu in our HTML page, we are going to make use of a tag called as select. Okay, and this select has attribute called as name. As usual, we are supposed to give name to our component. Okay, and it has a size. Okay, and you can also specify whether it's a option that can be selected multiple times. Okay, then we have got to give the values for the options. Okay, we have got to give the values for the options, and for that we are going to make use of the option tag. Okay, so we've got other options to select, but let us look into a simple drop down menu. Okay, for example, here whichever was present there, so we'll use this. So it was actually appearing before or after the last name, right? Okay, so here we have added a select tag. So select option slash select. So within that, supposed to give the option. Okay, and you can give a name to your select tag as well, just like how we did for the other components. So I'll give this as give the name as option value is equal to mangoes, and it will display beside that you have to write that it has to display mangoes here. Second value is papaya, third value is guava, fourth is banana, and fifth one is pineapple. Okay, so let us see now how it is getting displayed. As you can observe, which is your favorite food. So if I click on this here, as you can observe, all the values that I have listed over there are displayed, and if I select one of them, it will display that in your drop down box. Okay, so this is especially useful when you have got a menu to display. Okay, so we can use this, but I believe our combo was supposed to mention something else. Okay, our combo was supposed to mention whether it's a sleeveless or a sleeved shirt. Okay, so we'll do that. So instead of fruit, I'll say shirt type. Okay, so shirt type. So I need only two options. So I'll remove the rest of the options. So first one is sleeveless. So I'll give sleeveless, and here also I'll display the same. Okay. See, one more thing is, it's not necessary that this information, the value here and the value here should be same. Okay. But the thing is, I can put one here. I can put one here saying that one is sleeveless. Okay. I can put two here saying that two is sleeves, with sleeves or full sleeves. Okay. One, I can add one more option called as 3. Okay. Value is equal to 3, but this time it is half sleeves. But when I write 1, 2, 3, okay, so when I send this information over the web page for processing, okay, so from this select or drop down box, the value that will be received is either 1 or 2 or 3. So you should know at the processing end whether one is sleeveless or two is full sleeves or three is half sleeves. Okay, so if you know that, then processing becomes very easy. But if you don't want to get confused, then you can always add the same, whatever information you want, you can actually display the same. Okay, so what I will do is I'll display full sleeves and I'll display half sleeves. Okay, so let us have a look at what we are getting now. See, now we have got shirt type, sleeveless, full sleeves, and half sleeves. Okay, but of course, we are supposed to give BR. So it is not displaying the information correctly. Now we have got our form ready. Okay, but what is missing now? The missing is our two buttons, right? So let us add those two buttons to our form. Okay, so we have created the shell, we have added the text boxes, we have added the radio button. Now to add the submit button. So once the form is filled up with values, then we are supposed to submit those values to a page. Okay, we have already told to which page the data needs to be submitted, and we have also specified the method by which the data has to be submitted, or using which the data has to be submitted. Okay, so now we don't have any interface there to submit the information. So that is where the submit button is going to come into picture. So just like we had input to create the text box and the radio button and the checkbox, we also have the input tag to create the submit button. Okay, so I'll add that at the end now. After the text area, we are here. Okay, I'm adding the input type is equal to submit. Now let us see what will happen. Okay, as you can observe here, I'm supposed to give slash input. Need not give that, but it's better to give it. Okay, as you can observe here, a submit button appears. Okay, a submit button appears, right? So what if I want to change the name from submit to buy now, as it was appearing in our form? So same thing, value. Okay, so what should be the value on the top of the button? So it should be buy now. Okay, so just click buy now. And this. So now let us see what will happen. See, now it says buy now. So if I click on this, whatever you have given here, whatever you have given here, so all those data will be submitted to which page? Submitted to test.php. Of course, it has not been created yet. So, but we expect the data to be given to test.php or to any target page for that matter. Okay. So we'll also add the reset button that is missing out. Okay, so how to add a reset button? Same thing, input type is equal to reset. And I want that to be beside our submit button. So I will not do any changes there. So just change the name, reset. Okay, I'll give the value. By default, it will say reset only. Okay, so by I'll give clear. Okay, some value I'm going to give is clear. Let us see. Now it is clear. So what will this reset button will do is, see, I have typed some information here, okay, but I don't want all that information now, so I want to reset it. So if I click on this, it will be automatically reset to the original contents of the page. Okay, so this is how the reset button actually works. Now if I click on buy now, okay, if just observe the address bar here. Okay, click now. See, you can see that it is taking to test.php, but of course the file could not be accessed because the file does not exist now, right? So what we shall do is, we shall next create the test.php file, and we will check whether the data from our page, this page, is coming to test.php or not. Okay, but before going to that, as you can observe here, this web page is the appearance of this particular page is not good enough. Okay, so what we can do is, one thing that we can do is, we can align the contents as per our requirement, just like how we aligned our text information in the previous using the previous tags. Okay, so it's up to you to ensure that your web page is having a good appearance. So one thing I normally do to ensure that it is having a good appearance is that I normally use a table in order to put the information in. Okay, I will use the table tag to put the information in. So next we shall look at how we can use tables to display information, tabular information, and also to make our web page actually look good. Okay, so that we shall see in the next part.